implies this kind of concept, this kind of determination, especially within the Western world, that our mind is made up, and that desire to want to change our consciousness. With intention. I don't mean for pain or sickness, but to intentionally wanting to change your consciousness has been lost in sort of the modern Western world a little bit, and not only lost, but it's also been vilified.
Well, most of the changes of consciousness that our society approves of basically just makes you a better worker. Right. We're okay with caffeine, which is a great drug. I'm completely addicted.
Likewise.
And do not fight that addiction. But we're highly medicated as a culture, and most of the medications we take, whether it's for ADD or depression, allow us to function essentially, and focus and get the job done. But there are these other chemicals that propose a more radical change in consciousness that are not compatible with work, and they actually may encourage creativity in various ways. In the long term, they may contribute to work, but in the short term, they take too long. They leave people in such an altered state that they may not conform. They're more challenging to the status quo. Nevertheless, they've found their place in many societies, and they can actually contribute to the status quo, depending on what that status quo is.
Psychedelic communities are continue to form every day. Groups of people who have psychedelic sacraments that they use to expand their own subjective consciousness so that they can more fully blend with the collective, and through that blending create art that they can then secretly or not so secretly bring out onto the stage, that the people who are in popular culture can ogle and marvel at and be astounded by and wonder what it was and what is that and what does that mean and who made that thing, man?
And I'm looking to sort of bust the us and them paradigm, because what we're seeing, aside from, and you did a great job of expressing sort of the multiverse in our current reality.
Yeah.
There are many different realities going on.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. But they are incredibly divisive. How do we sort of, just erode at that divisiveness a little bit? And, the 60s had a really strong us and them construct to it.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Like, fuck the man, And it's like us versus them, hippies versus squares. Our parents versus the kids.
Yeah.
It was very, very, strongly divided. And to some extent, I get that.
I think another beautiful aspect of this research is that it is a big-time guilt reducer, because if you've done your due diligence, if you've looked into the substance that you're taking, and you begin to realize, like, this is actually a really useful, potentially healing, transformative substance, and I really don't need to feel like I'm some kind of drug-addled junkie underneath a bridge shooting black tar heroin into his arm when I'm taking this substance, because this substance is, who knows, it depends on what it may be, but you'll quickly discover pretty much everything is a hell of a lot less toxic than alcohol. So, and sometimes less toxic than coffee. Certainly less toxic than cigarettes. And so then you begin to realize, like, wait a fucking minute. I've been hoodwinked, haven't I? Because this substance that I'm taking, I know, at least based on all the research that's out there right now, what's going to happen. The cloud of state-induced paranoia and self-judgment that we're all afflicted by thanks to the war on drugs can lift a little bit from your experience of the psychedelic, which makes it that much more potent as a tool for personal transformation and healing.
Absolutely beautifully said.